Mike Oldfellas Travels. So we're in Perth at the moment. The date is the 9th of June. So we're in Perth, 9th of June. Back in Perth for 8 days to catch up with family and such that I didn't have time for last time. Been up at Lancelin for I think 3 or 4 days. Fantastic. Great caravan park until the beginning of the long weekend, and then it was just nuts. Oh, you couldn't swing a cat in between the camper and the people next door. So I left on the morning when it got busy actually, and I went up to Sandy Cape, but now I'm back in Perth. So how's the trip going so far? Well, it's going really good. So I want to talk first a little bit about the personal update, which I said I would bring to you, being for those that have followed me or seen the video on why, or one of the reasons I'm on this trip. And just a very quick rehash is my wife passed away on Anzac Day 2020, just over 12 months ago, which threw my life into turmoil, to say the least. And for whatever reason, it came about that I was going to do this trip. A trip that I'd planned for myself and my wife, albeit Joss, I needed to give Joss a little bit more encouragement to come along, but I really wanted to come along on the trip in a caravan and travel Australia, much as I'm doing now. But that wasn't to be, and it brings me to say, make the most of your life, guys. You never know what's around the corner, and I'm like so many others, waiting for retirement and that, and I really think there was, ducks have come to visit, and I really think there was missed opportunities there. So, long story short, that little journey led me from losing my wife and being in a position where I had no idea who I was, basically. I was just devastated. And to planning to continue on with the trip and be on the road. So I'm now in WA. I scooted across New South Wales, I scooted across from Queensland, across the border to get in WA because of the whole COVID thing. Victoria, New South Wales, they will be done later. Tasmania will be done later. Northern Queensland will be done later once I get back, and I'll swing around on those trips. So this trip is basically across the border, up to some key areas in Western Australia, and across the top back into Queensland. I initially called this trip a trip of healing for myself, but that's not the case. There's no healing when you lose your partner from a good strong marriage of which only fell months short of 40 years. There is no healing for that. The pain never goes away, and I don't believe it ever really gets much easier. It's not something you get over when it's such a big part of your life. So the trip is maybe helping me build a coping mechanism to cope, because that's what you need. You need a way to help yourself deal with the situation. There's plenty of distractions you can have when you're travelling, that's without a doubt, and distractions will fill a lot of gaps, but there's a couple of things you can't fill. One is the devastation and missing of somebody you've lost in a situation like mine. That's always washing over me, any time of the day or night. The other thing is loneliness. Now, I was concerned about how lonely I would be when I was travelling. There's two different kinds of loneliness. One is loneliness of not having people to talk to, friends, having a few beers, a couple of tree climbers around a fire, conversations with people. I mean, don't get me wrong, Barnes is a good conversationalist, but he doesn't have much of an opinion on things, which I tell people all the time. But then there's the loneliness that's associated with your partner. Not sexual, but physical contact, having that cuddle, saying goodbye and the kiss on, kiss when you go out. spending time with somebody, travelling with somebody, and I still now might see something, I spin around to say something to, oh, just look at that, remember, this, and that hits a bit harder than what you might think. So loneliness, as far as not having a partner and not being able to share the travels with with your partner, that's a kind of loneliness I'm still trying to deal with. Now, there's a difference between talking to blokes and talking to ladies. I didn't realise how much female company plays a role in your life. It's nice to have female company. It's very nice to talk to a lovely lady and women, and have a conversation with them and talk about things and such. It's very nice to have females in a group when you're talking to a group of people, and blokes and blokes, other blokes and their wives that are travelling. I think for me, it's a necessity in my life, and that part of this whole journey is what I'm missing. Anyway, anybody that's in the same situation is going to travel. Just be aware of that. It's you have to find a technique you have to find a way of getting over those moments, because they'll drag you down very rapidly, and you'll get into a very dark place very quickly, and moving on from that can be a challenge. So I haven't mastered it completely, but I'm learning how to deal with it. So you'll never get over it. People say, time heals. Well, I don't think time does heal. I think what time does is it gives you, if you're strong enough, it gives you a coping mechanism, and you learn to cope. You don't get over it, you learn to cope. So, I've learned a little bit about myself, and I've also learned how difficult in many ways it is not to have your partner. Not just having a partner, but the many things that the small snippets of your life and small activities that at times you do take for granted, and I've discovered that. So it's not a healing trip as such. It's a journey of discovery and a journey of learning the coping mechanisms to give you that want for life and the experiences that you can have. The other thing that I have learned along the way is how important this whole, well, for want of a better word, I suppose, or the more correct word is universe. I feel so much more the energy, around me, and I do feel my wife quite often. I do feel her presence, but Barnes. So anyway, I've spoke enough about that, but be mindful for anybody that's we get some cruiser going, that anybody that's in the same situation, me, and planning on travelling. It's a little bit tougher than what I thought it was going to be, but you can grow from it, and I think that's where my focus is now, is growth, personal growth, and learning those techniques to manage those downtimes. The cruiser. Cruiser's going really well. I've had to put new set tyres on it because the tyres that they come fitted with, I'm not going to say they're a bad tyre. I had no trouble with the tyres, and I had them on sand, and they seemed okay, but geez, they don't wear for the price of them. So the standard tyres, 30,000 k's, is not unusual. I actually did a bit of a Google. Barnes, can you please sit down? Sit down, please. Come on. Sit down, mate. So I did a bit of a Google, and everybody's saying, 30, 35,000 k's. Good tyre, but crap kilometres. I've had the tyres before, open country 2s, ATs, So I got them again. I was happy with them before and very happy with them now. I'll review them again once I've put maybe 20 or 30,000 Ks on them. But if they're anything like the ones the Cruise is much heavier. It's a much heavier vehicle, but if they're anything like my last tyres, the last tyres I had, I'll probably keep on with them. So the Cruise is going well. I had to have a clutch adjustment at 30,000. It just didn't feel right. It felt like it was binding a little bit coming out of first gear sometimes, especially when it's cold. So they did a clutch adjustment on 30,000 Ks, and that seemed to have rectified it. But apart from that, Cruise is going well. I'm not going to change anything now. It's how I want it. I'm not going to upgrade the snorkel. Sorry, ARB. But I am going to finish off the GVM upgrade because it's doing everything I want, and I don't feel like I need any more performance. It's just going well, and the more I keep a standard, the longer the life's going to be, because there are basically over-engineered. Perth is windy, cold and wet. Oh God, that's why I'm down the park here, because it's awful up at the caravan park. Oh dearie me. At least it's it's a little bit more sheltered down here. But okay, so this is the first of many reviews now that I'm sort of getting. So I want to do a review on just a device that I've had for about a year now, maybe longer, and being that my daughter's had a bit of concern about travelling remotely when I'm on my own and when I'm away, and I'm very mindful of the fact that I'm 64, and there may be a time when I may be remote. I don't know, on the way to Burnsville, the Cape, Great Central Highway, who knows, and I do need some assistance. We hope that we never do, but plan for the worst and have the best when you travel, I suppose. But I want to talk about, now I'm not sponsored by these guys. I've paid for all this myself. I've had no direct contact with them. I'm just a customer like anybody else. But I did quite a bit of research on the likes of remote locators or emergency beacons and such. I have one of these. This is the second one I've got. I've got the Spot 3 as well, that I was having, well, I'll correct that. I thought I was having some trouble with, but it was actually an old fella's error, and I'd accidentally changed the setting. And so I ended up thinking I needed a new one, because the other one I've had for some time. But that was the Spot 3. Now, they're both just as good as each other, personally. The main difference is, so there's two differences. The Spot 3, you can actually recharge your rechargeable batteries externally, so you can plug into it, and it's a slightly different shape, but the Spot 3 you can plug into it and charge the batteries without opening up. This is IP, what is it, IP68 or something rated, and to achieve the seals on that, there's no external source to plug into to charge the rechargeable batteries. So when you connect to the software to make some changes I'll talk about in a minute, you actually have to take the cover off the back, and there's 4 screws. It's simple enough. Pop those 4 screws out. They don't fall out. They've got the little nodules to keep them in the back. And Barnes to see the dog. But you have to take the back off to do updates and to charge the batteries. You need to take the rechargeable batteries out and charge them separately. So that's the feature that's changed, and from what I understand, it's all around the fact that these are now meeting the new IP criteria, 67, 68, whatever it is, and that can't be achieved with external plugs and such. Still very happy with it, and I thought it would be an absolute pain in the butt to have to take the cover off the time. But I've got to tell you, this is only the second set of rechargeable batteries I've put in it since I've left. So we're talking 4 months of this never being turned off. So it puts itself to sleep when it's not being used, but there is a feature where it self-wakes, and I'll talk about that shortly. The reason I've got this in reality is one, so my girls will know where I am. They'll know when I'm on the road. They know when I've got somewhere safely and I don't have phone reception. I can get assistance if I need assistance for a non-emergency situation, maybe a breakdown, and I'm in a remote area. I can get emergency assistance from the emergency services, and I'll pay a small sum around, I can't remember how much it is, don't quote me, but I think somewhere between $200 and $250 extra a year, which gives you a massive coverage of cost for emergency services if they need to come out. So I'll talk about it very briefly. There's plenty of reviews about this, but I've chosen to use it and I'm very happy with it. So on the front, we'll go through the obvious ones first, but I really want to talk about how I use it, because there's plenty of reviews on these. But you've got this pop-off cover here that I've never used, but it pops off and you've got your SOS button there, excuse me, and do you mind, Barnes? So you've got your SOS button there. That will send notification to emergency services to inform them there's an emergency situation. God forbid you have one, but that's peace of mind. So on the other side, you've also got these two little hands. So that's simply to call assistance. So you've got a breakdown. It's not an emergency situation, but you do need some assistance, whether it be a tow or mechanic to come out, whatever. Some fuel, tyre, because you've been caught out. It's purely just to inform that you need assistance. Works the same. Orange bit comes off, and you hold the button for 3 seconds, and a notification goes out. You've got these other three buttons here. Now this uses direct satellite, so you don't need Telstra coverage. It'll work anywhere in Australia as far as I'm aware, and I've not seen anything to the contrary. And I actually carry it with me if I go for a long walk now. Up on the top of a rock somewhere that's a bit remote, and I need some assistance for emergency, I've got it on me. The three buttons at the bottom is what I use mostly. So the one with the tick, and these are what you can program. In fact, I think you can program that as well for the assistance one. But the one with the tick on it, that's just a notification. You can figure who you want it to go to. So I send an SMS and an email to both my daughters, and it just says, I've arrived at my destination, and all's good. All's going well. So they know that I've arrived where I was planning to be at that day. They know I'm safe and sound. They know I've got Telstra coverage in that location. The middle button, which has like a little Google Maps tracking symbol on it, that's tracking, and at any time that I'm idle for 30 minutes, I've set it, you can set it to 5, 15, 30 an hour, something like that. I've set that I've set it 30 minutes. So if I'm idle for 30 minutes, which may mean I've stopped on travels for a bit of lunch or whatever, once you move again, it'll send a notification to my girls, both SMS and by email, with a link, mind you, that shows the exact location within a metre of where you are. And they just know I'm on the move where I am, and I normally let them know where I'm going to be that day, so they can see how I'm faring. The other one on the other end that has like a little message symbol, I've put the context in there. Once again, it's a text message and an email to both my daughters, but it's a message that says, I've arrived okay, all's good, but I don't have phone reception. So they know that I've arrived and I'm okay, but they won't be able to contact me via SMS or phone and such, which happens quite a bit when you're travelling remotely. They're very easy to set up. I can't remember what I paid for it. It might have been around the 300 mark, 280, something like that. I really can't remember. Not overly expensive when you're considering what it is. It has a yearly subscription, and I pay an additional subscription to cover the cost of emergency services, which covers some millions of dollars of cost. Also, when it does send a notification as an emergency, it'll also send the details, contact details for whoever you nominate. So I have contact details in the SOS emergency notification for emergency services to contact either of my daughters as a point of contact, so they can talk to them as part of the emergency recovery process and let them know what's going on. But I think it's a must-have. I'm 64 years old. Who knows, what's around the corner when you get to my age. I'm travelling on my own. I'm quite often remote. I'm sometimes 2 or 3 kilometres away from the car, if not further, doing a walk, and I'll carry this with me. But you set it up online, then you download and install an updater app, and that allows you to do your updates and change messaging all the way you want to use it. But I think that it's great. I know it's robust because, geez, I've dropped this a few times. So, I'm very happy with it, guys. Like I said, I got 2. There was nothing wrong with the first one, just let me make that very clear. And I don't have any association with these guys. I was purely just researched what I could have and what would work for me. And I did see some reviews on them, and it just seemed to suit me the best for what I want to do. I want to try and do these midweek travel updates. Probably once a fortnight, maybe even once a week if warranted, and I'll start to review some of the items that I've installed and that I'm using now that I've been on the road for a while. Alright guys, keep it real. I was going to say have a beer, but I won't be having a beer today. Or the only thing I'll be having is another coffee. See you guys, stay cool, look after yourself, be kind to friends and family, and don't be too hard on yourself if you feel like life's a bit tough. Barnes got himself really tangled up here. He's even got around my leg.